Look at all these people. Seems like they're enjoying themselves.
They never change. You drooling dogs should be ashamed!
Shut up, you old hag!
Ellen,
I'm not feeling well.
I'll stay with you. Go ahead, we'll come after you. Quick, you can't be too late.
Is your mother ill?
It's not that. This is where they hanged my father.
The trial begins. The judges. Brother of Stephen, King of the English. The Right Reverend Bishop Henry of Winchester. Her Highness, the Countess Lady Aliena of Shiring. Presiding over the trial, the Right Reverend Bishop of Shiring and Kingsbridge, Waileron Bygod.
Please. The Church is not without fault. We have gathered here today before the eyes of God to accuse one of our own. He wrote in his book that the Church and the papacy are not necessary as intercessors between God and man, that God is in man, that all men are equal, and that each sinner is as close to our Lord as the Pope himself. Now, we ask God for his judgment. For his is the kingdom, the power, and the glory. Not ours, and not yours. You stand accused of heresy. Philip of Gwynedd, how do you plead? Answer!
I am not guilty.
Your teachings speak another language. Guilty, I say.
I am deeply saddened. It may come as a surprise to you, but we had hoped to make you Bishop of Kingsbridge. Why has it come to this, Philip?
In part, I am to blame. I supported Philip in his early years. I demand that Philip be removed from his position of prior immediately.
No!
And that he remain in captivity until such time that Shiring and all of England have healed from the poisonous words he has dispersed.
No!
What? Yes?
You are accusing Philip because he has defied you.
I made him prior, and grateful he was not. But no, I accuse him because his teachings are false. And I intend to prove that Philip's decisions have been more than misguided in the past. Call in Remigius.
The Prior of Shiring, Father Remigius.
My bishop.
Tell the court, Remigius, what you have told me.
For many years, I served as sub-prior of Kingsbridge. First for Prior James, then for the accused.
What was your first impression of him?
I was offended by his bluntness and accusations during the chapter discussions.
What else?
Prior Philip did not hesitate to give refuge to the people fleeing Earl's Castle in the winter that our king died.
Is that not a good deed? A true Christian act?
You do not know him as well as you think you do, Lady Aliena. Today, that will change.
Then, on the day of our first Fleece Fair, we were attacked.
I heard. It was terrible.
I tried to soothe the woman's pain by reading the scripture to her. Our master builder's wife tried to put a spell on her with poisonous herbs.
And Philip intervened.
Yes. He pushed me aside and gave the woman poison.
It is worse than I thought.
It was no poison.
And then there was the day the Virgin Mary's statue arrived in Kingsbridge. I did not believe it was a miracle.
Clearly, it is a miracle. I hear of many who were healed in Kingsbridge.
Yes! Amen! Oh, Mary, bless us all!
Well, I soon realized it was a true miracle, but Philip did not. He was only after the money people donated at the Virgin's Shrine. That is why I left.
He had to! Amen.
I believe there is one more thing you have not told us about. Something very important.
Yes. Philip has fathered a child!
Unbelievable! I knew it!
A son. And he raised him in the priory.
He is guilty!
Jonathan of Kingsbridge, step forward.
This is preposterous.
Is it?
Is this true? Are you Philip's son? Answer the question, Jonathan of Kingsbridge.
Philip has always been like a father to me. But he is not my father.
How do you know that?
He told me.
And how do you know he spoke the truth?
Speak.
Philip would never lie. He told me that I was found in the woods.
In the woods? Is this true, Philip? Or are you lying? Well, you told the story so many times.
My brother found him.
Your brother? Had he not been working for Earl Robert of Gloucester? You have not seen him in a long time now, have you? Let us ask your brother if your stories are true.
Francis, what happened to you?
This is not your fault. He does this to hurt you.
By God.
Francis of Gwynedd. He was arrested more than 15 years ago. He was arrested for conspiring against his own master, Earl Robert.
Remove the prisoner.
Philip told me himself, and I told Earl Robert. For God and the Church cannot take sides in these conflicts. Only one brother has been tried so far, but both of them conspired against Earl Robert. And his ally, Earl Bartholomew, your father, Lady Aliena. Philip took in all those refugees years ago because he was to blame for their fate, as he was for yours when you lost your father and your earldom. That, Lady Aliena, is the man you are trying to protect. Well,
I know that he is a troubled man. We've all had to make hard decisions. Decisions that seemed right at the time, when indeed they were terrible mistakes. I am thankful that I was forgiven when I made a mistake. Now I forgive him. Let us now return to the problem at hand. There is a man who witnessed how Jonathan was found in the forest. A man who can shed light on who Jonathan's father really is.
And who is that?
My husband.
Step forward. What is your name?
He is the master builder of Kingsbridge.
Have you lost your courage?
No, I have not. You know well why it would be hard for me to face you. They call me Jack, after my father. My name is Jack Builder.
Yes, we have met before.
How old were you when you allegedly saw Jonathan as a child in the woods?
12. But I know what I saw. Philip told the truth.
You were a child. And what were you doing there, in the woods?
I was living in the forest, with my mother.
They were outlaws.
Prior Remigius is the most trustworthy witness we've seen today, and his statement was quite damning to Philip. The distant memories of an outlawed child cannot convince me otherwise.
He fathered a child!
Let him go!
He would never do that!
And yet, Lady Aliena is right. We do not know enough to judge him as harshly as you proposed, Bishop Waleran.
You are right, Bishop Henry. As I said, it is not up to us to judge this man. Philip of Gwynedd has pleaded innocent, but how innocent is he? We ask God for his judgment. As Bishop of Kingsbridge and Shiring, I demand an ordeal by fire.
This is madness!
Philip of Gwynedd will be tried and judged at the stake. If he is innocent, God will save him from the flames. If he is not, then he will burn as the heretic and sinner God has declared him to be.
No! Waleran, by God! Not this time.
It's her.
I saw the child and Francis. I was there. Philip is not the child's father. He is a fool, but he is a good man.
Then, who is the father?
Tom Builder.
They are all in this together. This woman is a witch and an outlaw, living in sin with a thief. He was hanged in Shiring 30 years ago.
He was not a thief. He was a good man. You've murdered him, Waileran, by God.
What is this nonsense?
He was a thief. He stole a golden chalice and melted it down and sold it.
What chalice?
The chalice of the Eucharist. He stole it from the Cathedral of Kingsbridge.
Sacrilege.
Yes, Prior James of Kingsbridge caught him red-handed.
Is that the chalice? You said it was melted down and sold.
Fall not for their lies. That could be any chalice. This does not prove a thing.
Where did you find this chalice?
In a secret chamber. We believe Prior James hid it because he felt guilty for falsely accusing Jack's father.
What proof do you have?
He told me. The night the cathedral burned down, I was there, I saw him.
Prior James died weeks before that.
No, he did not.
Bishop Henry, he speaks the truth.
Order! I will give you until sunset to produce a witness who can prove your accusations against Bishop Waileran. Not just this chalice. If you fail to do this, I will make sure you are tried for defamation. Philip of Gwynedd, you will stay under arrest. The trial recommences at sunset.
We need a witness.
What are you doing there?
I've seen you draw up plans for a cathedral. Maybe we can do something similar to find our witness. Let's see. Your father.
He looks just like you.
My grandmother said he did.
And Bishop Waileran. What are the connections? Maybe, by exploring them, we can find a witness.
Good idea.
Jack's father. If he was still with us, he could be our witness.
Maybe he still can. Mother says Waileran was behind my father's death.
And she said he wasn't alone. There were 3 men responsible for your father's death. Bishop Waileran, Percy Hamley, back then he was the Sheriff of Shiring, and Prior James of Kingsbridge.
If they were all there, then they were all witnesses.
And only Waileran's still alive.
Hardly a coincidence. Why would these 3 men work together to falsely accuse your father?
He was on the White Ship. No one survived that night. No one lived to tell the story.
Yes. He was the sole survivor.
And then they killed him. But why? Now, what about Prior James? If only James was still with us. He regretted what he did. Maybe he would have helped us to save Philip.
In a way, he is helping us. Without him, we would not have found the chalice.
How are Prior James and Percy Hamley connected?
Not at all, I would guess.
Except through Bishop Waileran.
Yes. He needed James to arrest my father and Percy Hamley to hang him.
Now both of them are dead. That can't be a coincidence. Why would Waileran, Percy, and James be concerned about the White Ship?
The son and heir of King Henry was on board. So were other possible heirs and other members of the royal household. I heard that Stephen was supposed to be on the ship as well, but became ill. He was the only male heir. The only threats were the king's daughter Maud and her half-brother Earl Robert, and they've been at war ever since.
And your father, Earl Bartholomew. He was a threat. He tried to stop Stephen and paid for that with his life. Maybe my father saw something on the White Ship. Proof that Stephen was involved.
What about the king? Do you really believe the king is involved in all this?
Well, that would at least explain why Wayleran asked Bishop Henry to be part of this trial.
Right. He's Stephen's brother. They seem to have known each other for a long time. If the White Ship is involved, then it's likely that Wayleran was told by King Stephen to murder your father.
But he was not king back then. Why would Wayleran listen to him?
He was promised to become bishop.
Of course.
Remember, Bishop Henry is Stephen's brother, and back then he was already one of the most influential clerics in all of England.
But if Bishop Henry is in on all this, what chance do we have to turn this trial around?
It is a public trial. All we want is for Philip to go free. We find a witness to expose Wayleran. Henry would have to play along to appear innocent.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
It's our best shot.
And what about the ship?
My father wanted to go to England. He was the only one who made it when the White Ship sank.
Stephen always claimed that it had been God's will that he was not on that ship. That he remained as the only male heir.
That wasn't God. I bet Stephen had a hand in the sinking of the ship.
Now imagine what would have happened if he had learned that someone survived. Someone who might have seen what really happened that night.
Wayleran, Percy, and James might have been working for those who sunk the White Ship.
The three people who murdered my father might have worked for someone else. Someone who had an interest in drowning the king's heirs.
Wayleran, Percy, and James might have been working for those who sunk the White Ship.
Hardly a coincidence that the king's heirs all died on that ship. Maybe my father knew what happened. The three people who murdered my father might have worked for someone else. Someone who had an interest in drowning the king's heirs.
The White Ship. Had those on board survived, there would have been no war, no anarchy.
My father might still have been alive.
And mine.
The King of the English. Ruthless murderer.
Wayleran, Percy, and James might have been working for those who sunk the White Ship. My father was right about Stephen.
The King of the English. Ruthless murderer.